Velody, can you make me a beat?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'd like to appreciate everyone that's tuning in to our very first episode of Father Figure, the podcast. With me here is a long time friend of mine, Mr. Joshua Valdez. Um, I chose him to be my very first interview for the simple fact that he's someone that I hold up high to as far as fatherhood goes, to the standard. He's a dear friend of mine that's watched me in these last 15 or so years kind of grow. And then, times where I fell, he would kind of check me. And I feel like as fathers, we need that person in our life. And I'm very appreciative of him. And I thank him every single day. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Joshua Valdez. He's going to go ahead and give himself introduction of who he is. Josh?
So before we get started though, like this father figure kind of podcast piece, I think way overdue. And honestly, brother, you are the right man to do it, right? I've seen how you've raised your kids, how you're still raising your kids. I've seen their success. And, we've known each other, 15 years since the kids started playing Pop Warner when they were 5 years old.
Yep.
So without a doubt, I think if there was anyone to kind of facilitate this type of conversation, 100% would be you, dude. So
I appreciate
and we
you,
could pat each other on the back all day, right? But seriously, like you're an outstanding father, and I think you're the right person to do this.
I appreciate it.
So for me, I'm 47 years old. I'm getting old. Been married, happily married to my wife now, coming on 27 years. We both met in the Army. We were both in the Army. Mm-hmm. I joined when I was 18. She joined when she was 18. She grew up in Bellflower. I grew up in Anaheim. We just happened to meet at Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, Colorado. Ended up getting together. I got injured when I was at Carson. So a traumatic brain injury. The wife and I were going out. We ended up getting married after the fact. From a young man standpoint, probably didn't live the most ideal life, right? Was bad, poor son, poor brother, right? Just growing up. So I want to say junior year, I dropped out of high school, ended up getting my GED when I was 18, joined the Army, did my little thing there. Like I said, met the wife, we got married after my traumatic brain injury. I think after we got out, we went to college, both my wife and I. She's got her bachelor's degree in nursing. I got my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. We both have graduate degrees. And then we took a long time. We waited to have children. So we wanted to make sure we had a foundation. We wanted to make sure we had a house. We wanted to make sure we had savings. We wanted to make sure we had everything set so we could raise our children. My wife and I both come from really great families. Like we have loving parents, great brothers, great sisters. But for me, I probably made some unwise choices as a young man. So I probably had more challenges than I probably should have. Well, not probably, should have had. And so when we were growing up, and she didn't have a lot of money, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we never wanted or needed. Never needed anything. Obviously, everybody wants, but we never needed for anything. But what we wanted to do is make sure we had a solid foundation from an education standpoint, from a work standpoint, employment standpoint, saving money, doing all the things we need to do that when we did have our children, we could raise them in an environment that would allow them to continue flourishing, right? And so that was big for us. So we waited, and I think, my oldest is 19, so I'm 47, so 26, 27, like age range before the wife and I had kids. And I know in the world right now that probably seems young, right? That probably seems young. I don't want my boys to have kids until they're in their 30s, but at that point in time, that was a little bit later in life for us to have children. So I had the two boys. I got the oldest is Josh. He's 19. He's in college at Cal State Fullerton studying business. He was a standout wrestler in high school. Had some opportunities post school for wrestling. Just made a conscious decision not to do it. I applaud him for that. Take a lot of courage. My youngest is Jeremy. He's 15 years old. He's currently at Servite. He's a wrestler, second year wrestler. And they're both total studs, right? Both smart, both charismatic, both good looking.
Both good looking humorous. Like the daddy. It's all good.
It happens, right? But great kids. I have great kids. I have a great wife. I have a pretty solid life.
That's amazing. And so, my favorite part about doing this interview is, like I said at the beginning, um, it's easy to do with you, especially for the simple fact we've had plenty of nights back here where we did a lot of discussions, uh, even a little bit of arguments. But I mean, for the simple fact that it's natural, if that makes any sense. So we'll back it on up. That was amazing as far as giving my viewers a tad bit of who you are, but we're gonna back it up just a little bit and kind of discuss, what it was like as far as your relationship between your biological father and
Mhm.
your stepdad. And I've got the chance to meet both of them, and just wanted your perspective.
Mhm. So I have a little bit of a funky situation, probably like most people. I think over 50% of marriages end in divorce now, right?
Yep.
And so my mom and dad got they were divorced probably when I was 12, 13, 11, age around there, 12, 13. I just don't remember the specifics. And so obviously I stay with my mom. Um, and she had a pretty challenging life post divorce, right? With myself and my two brothers, Jake and Joe. And so we worked with my mom, and we struggled, but my mom got remarried to a man named Art, who became what I call my dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of a different dynamic. I have a father who, we were together 11 years before my mom and dad got divorced, and we still talk. We still have a relationship. Genetically, he gave me everything that I am, right? Um, but I grew up most of the time with my dad, right? Or in that time period with my dad, kind of gave me opportunities to see kind of what a father was, right? My dad walked into marrying my mom with three young kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think I was maybe 12. My youngest brother was like 4, Joe. So he walks into a ready-made family, and he just a stand-up dude throughout, start to finish, right? And really was an ideal role model for all of us, since we were with my mom and my dad. We were there, and it's not to say that my father doesn't play a role, and I'm not saying that, right? But just the way things ended up being.
Yeah.
I mean, my father got remarried, and I have two amazing brothers from that relationship. My brother Jared and my brother Jordan, stand-up guys.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome family, right? But that was the route that took, and I grew up with my dad, right? And my dad is what kind of the time I spent the most with, and probably the one I want to emulate the most.
Yeah. So it's safe to say that was kind of leading up to my next point or question was, would you consider him your mentor and your guidance and guidelines throughout this, whole journey of being a father? And if you had someone else on top of him, are there any other examples that you use to kind of mold your perception of
Mhm.
what a father should be?
So I'm pretty lucky because my dad, like I said, is a stand-up guy, and he never talked too much about himself or kind of what he's done or what he's accomplished. He really did let all of his actions kind of speak for who he was. And
Mhm.
so there's four aspects of a man that I feel are really important, and you've heard me tell this, and you can ask Josh and you can ask Jeremy, and they'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you right off the bat what they are. I've been telling them that since they were old enough to understand my language to
You
them.
got to share that with my son too. Growing up, they've all been
Agreed.
together since 5 years old. Go ahead. Sorry.
So no, it's a good point, right? And I think those four aspects are courage, loyalty, respect, and honesty. And those are the four aspects of a man. Like, man, I have it tattooed on me. My son, my oldest son, I think, I'm not gonna say anything, has it tattooed on him too, right? Um, Jeremy knows all about it. He understands it. And I think that's something that we've embodied in our family. Honesty, loyalty, courage, and respect. And those are things that I feel like my dad demonstrated every single day that I was around him, right? He always told the truth, from an honesty standpoint, always told the truth, even told us, hey, you may have to tell the truth. You want to pause it with the
Nah,
garbage?
we're good.
Are
We're
you?
mic'd up.
All right,
It,
good.
it blocks out
Um,
everything.
so honesty, big important piece, because my dad always told the truth, and he always told us, like, you tell the truth even if it means you're going to get in trouble,
Yep.
right? Even if it means you're going to get hurt, you always tell the truth. You never lie, right? and something my dad never lied to us. Loyalty to my mom, to my family, to his friends. I think that was huge. Being loyal, um, respectful, always respecting people unless they don't respect you,
Yep.
and then you reciprocate, right?
Yep.
Like my dad didn't take a lot of BS, right? But he always respected everyone. Didn't matter until they didn't give him respect. And then the last piece was courage, and courage wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna jump off the patio into the pool kind of thing, right? Courage was the ability to do something that you knew was right but was challenging, right?
Yeah.
And that's whether it's standing up for someone, whether that is getting up every morning and going to work, right? My dad worked, 12 hours a day as a machinist, just nonstop, 7 days a week, just so I could go to Servite at the end of the day, which I squandered because I didn't make the right choices in life, right? But that was something that he had the courage to do every single day, and that's something that myself and my brothers have all seen, and something that we want to emulate, right?
Yeah. And the beautiful part about that is, and why I think as a whole we became friends from day one, because of similarities of background, and then on top of that our morals and values.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's completely gone away or gone astray, and there's something along the four principles that you hold your sons to, or you know what I mean, help guide them as you raise them. And it's very comparable to what I would tell my children, Skylar, Pono, Kenzie, and now Sonny, is that the one thing, if you can do right in life, that is to make sure that your actions and your words match.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're out in the world and or in your relationships, that whomever you choose to be with and or come across in your life, make sure your actions and your words match. Because like I said, going forward, man, it's really hard, and we speak about this all the time off record,
Mm-hmm.
about where society's gone and or going, and really hope that for the next generation, because of fathers like us, and not to over pat ourselves on the back, but I mean that's our overall hopes, is that we raise good human beings that can go forth and kind of make the world a little better place
Mm-hmm.
as time passes. So that's awesome. Um, Going into your mentorship, was there anyone else besides your stepdad?
I think my dad is kind of the pinnacle of kind of my experience as a father, and things that I said, hey, and like I said, my dad never talked about it. My dad just let action speak for who he was, and that was always nice, because then I can just see what he did, and kind of mimic that now with my kids in a lot of way. And there's things, trust me, there's things where I have not done right, like as a father do. I think we all go through those phases where there are things, where decisions that I made and actions that I took as a father that probably, looking back on it, probably not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And my dad didn't do those things.
Yeah.
I was just trying to be a better dad than my dad, which is always a thing that we always want to do. And it's not that my dad wasn't a great dad. I just always wanted to be, try to do things differently, and try to see if I could one up my dad, right?
Exactly.
Which is almost impossible,
right?
And you can see by all the failures that I've had. So
And that's the best thing, because it's like, when we look at our relationships with our dads, there's always that, we, no matter how, how many mistakes and or good things they did, I love the fact that we still hold our dads
without a
up
doubt.
high, and I pray that our kids kind of do the same thing with us, and I think they will. So to backpedal a little bit on, when did you know Miss Valdez was the one to, go forward in this journey, as her blessing you with fatherhood?
It's weird, because my wife and I both met in the Army, right, at Fort Carson, Colorado. There was a point in our lives where we were going to go separate ways, because just careers were going to take us in those different directions, right? And I got injured when I was in the Army, my traumatic brain injury, and it was pretty bad at the beginning, right? Partial paraparesis, like I was in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair. It was bad, but Lourdes stuck through it and was always there by my side, right? And not only is she a beautiful woman, outside beautiful woman inside, driven and amazing. Like I can't say enough about that woman, about that lady. But that loyalty and that connection that she showed during that time frame was like out of this world. And
Yeah.
so to me, there's nothing that I could ask for more than the fact that she supported me and stayed there with me. And so without a doubt, 100%, she's the one.
Yeah.
There is no other. There's no one else that I would even contemplate thinking of. No experience I've ever had with anyone other than my wife that I'd say, hey, she's the one, right?
Yeah.
She's just an amazing woman. And so for me, it was really easy and clear cut. It's probably not as easy for everybody,
Yep.
but for me, it was easy. And we got married young. I mean, I was 20. She was 19, just turning 20. Right. We kind of grew together as a couple instead of apart.
Yeah.
And we've actually grown closer than when we first, started our relationship. As the marriage olds, we're like wine, right? It keeps getting better. And so I'm happy. She's a good woman.
My favorite part about watching your guys' relationship from the outside looking in, and it's, you as a man have helped me. This is far from fatherhood, but I also feel like it ties in to the same spectrum of you've helped me kind of look at your relationship and kind of see sometimes when I'm being too much to my wife, and kind of I see through the lens of your eyes and kind of go, oh, maybe I should kind of kick back, maybe I should, what I mean. So you not only have helped me as a friend, personally or as an individual, but you helped me as well with the good things that I see from your guys' relationship. And I'm not gonna put it out there as if it's perfect. Mine's not perfect.
Yeah,
no one's is perfect. Yeah. But I love the little bit of examples from the way you are a dad to the way you treat your wife. It's also helped me as well. And I know for a fact that my wife is very thankful, because you know what, you are one of those guys, and this is a sidebar, but we'll put it out there. Literally one of the only guys that she would allow me to go and do and never question. So that speaks volumes on your character as a man. So
it's vice versa. If I tell Lord I'm going out with Mal, she's like, oh, I know he's gonna be okay, right? Because we take care of each other.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I'm very thankful for you on that aspect as well. So we'll go back to the topic of fatherhood. Share with us your raw feelings. Like literally, I shared on my little intro video that I shot the other day about my first child. I mean, how did you feel inside and out? I mean, what was running through your mind, in your heart, and just, give us the real, give us what it is that when you found out you were going to have little Josh, how did you take it, and how did you feel?
I mean, looking at Josh and looking at Jeremy when they were born, I felt identical, right? One is awe, amaze, just a sense of overwhelming love. But I will say, like, the one thing that I was worried about, I was scared, right? Mm-hmm. I was scared because I wanted to be the perfect father, right? I wanted to do everything right. And we always say this, kids don't come with instruction manuals, right? Yep. So we're kind of making it up as we go along based on what we've seen our parents do. And so the biggest fear I had was just screwing it up, right? Mm-hmm. We only get one chance to raise our kids. And every action that we do, they watch, whether we realize it or not, man. Yeah. They see it, and they see what we do. They see how we behave. They see what we say, and that is beginning that mold of that child, right? Mm-hmm. And on top of that, it's all the things that we do with the kids, the things we tell them on purpose, the actions that we do, the activities that we do with them. All of those things are really important. So my biggest thing was being afraid that I would fuck it up, right? Mm-hmm. Being afraid that I'd screw it up. So that was the big thing for me, and that's kind of stayed with me like for a long time, right? Regardless as they gotten older, like every age that they kind of transition through, right? Whether it's toddler to infant to toddler to kindergartners to young preteens to teens, like I'm always worried that I'm gonna screw it up, right? I want to do what's right for them. I think there's some struggles that we have as a nation, and this stuff we've talked about. I think there's some struggles we have as men, and I've always wanted to try to do the right thing. And I'm not saying I have, because I haven't, right, without a doubt, but I've always wanted to. And I think that was one of the big things that I had that I didn't think I would have when I had children.
Yeah.
Fear, right?
It's crazy. So getting to the point of where we're sitting at in 2025, giving us a little bit of your relationship as trying to be a father, a good father at that, as you're guiding them through from walking to talking to, going to elementary school. And now, Jeremy's almost done. Josh already finished. He's in college pursuing his career. How cool is it? Because I feel it's cool. I'm gonna jump straight into it. I feel it's cool that our kids are older now. Like it's a different relationship. And my oldest has a family. She's gone. And then, damn, that was a struggle for me to accept at the first month. Damn, holy shit, she's gone. And then to watch them come back and forth, like every time they show up, like your heart skips a beat. Like, oh, they're here. And then, so how's your relationship as far as seeing them? They're little young men. Josh is home, moved back in to go to school still, but he kind of has his own thing. And then, Jeremy, same. He just left right now to kind of go do his own thing. Kenzie got up this morning, said goodbye to me at like 7:30. I'm like, where are you going? She's like, oh, I got something for school. And so, how does your relationship differ from them being young to now? And then, how do you feel going forward as far as, still praying every day that they continue on with the good path that they're on?
So it's funny because, Josh and Capono grew up, but so did Brandon, Roth, right? Marcelo, Josh Garcia across the street. I mean, these are all kids that either all played football, Pop Warner together at Cypress Pop Warner at a very young age of 5 years old, right? To going to kindergarten together. They all went to kindergarten together, right? They've all known each other for 15, 16 years. And so 17 years, one of the things that you and I talk about all the time, and you made the statement and brought this phrase up, your day one, right? And your day one friends. And I feel like watching these kids, just like you said, I get really excited when I see them getting together. And they still have such a strong relationship. And these are kids that have grown up since 5 years old, and they have great relationships. And I think the piece for me that really makes it powerful is I have great relationships with their fathers, with you, with Steve, with Marcelo, with Moses across the street. I have really solid relationships, and I look across at all the fathers and how stand-up men they are and the things that they do, and they all are outstanding examples of fathers, and we all kind of align around kind of our philosophies as fathers and our values. And so not only have our kids become really, really good friends, and they are really good friends, but us as fathers have become really good friends,
Exactly.
right? And now we're at the point where we can kick back as dads, and the kids don't even have to be there. Like we're just kicking back, and the wives all get along, right? And they're all talking, and us as men are just sitting in the back, BSing, arguing at times, right? But always loving each other, and actually becoming that really close knit friends, just as much as our boys have. It's amazing. It's actually it's super surprising. All from Pop Warner.
I know it's funny because we are very fortunate. Not a lot of people have that village. Not a lot of people have that kind of safety net to kind of lean on. And it's funny you mentioned the relationships that our boys have. And even going back, right, because I know you would give the same advice to your son. I noticed this was prior to Pono leaving. He was kind of down and out, and I was like, dude, what's going on? You don't seem like yourself, this, that, and the other. And I guess him and the homies, and they're going to be upset that I'm putting their tea out there, but he kind of was upset at the boys and blah, blah, blah. And anyways, I said, son, here's the deal. You and your homies got something that I envy, and Josh and I envy, because we've brought this up many a times. And if they are your day ones, guess what? They do deserve to have that conversation. If you guys have issues, if you guys have problems, deal with it. Bring it up. Don't hold on to that shit and then disappear from the relationship. Those guys are your day ones. They are worth having an uncomfortable conversation, have it. And I said, bro, I'm telling you this. Joshua had to call me out on some shit. Like I wasn't doing right, or he saw me not in my normal mindset, or I was going down a path at that time that he knew I didn't need to be, and he called me out. Guess what? Boom! I pulled my head out my ass, figured it out. Because if it's coming from someone that has love for me, I'm gonna fix it. So that's what you got to do with your relationship with your boys. And sure enough, he calls me up later. He's like, "Oh yeah, you were right. Okay, we're good. All right, we're going out." But not a lot of people have that guidance, bro.
Yeah.
And I feel like, like I said, I know you would do the same thing for your son if you saw them that they were having, whatever kind of issues or whatever. I feel like that's what's missing from today.
Agreed.
Someone to give that even, even keel or whatever kind of information and or advice to. And I feel like, I'm blessed. My son's blessed, with your son being his homie and you being my long time homie. And I feel like that's something that's missing.
Well,
So,
I think what's funny is like these boys have gotten in fistfights before with each other, right? They've argued, they've done,
yep,
but that's like growing up as a man.
Yep.
Like from my just when I think about when I was younger, that's just part of being a man. Like
yeah,
those things happen, and you fight your friends. It's just normal. Like it's just part of it. Is you have disagreements. That's just normal, right? But it's amazing that they've done it, and they're as close as they can be, right?
exactly. So back into it. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got the gist of who you are and why, we've become, I consider you one of my best friends, and,
Vice versa.
there's a reason for it. And, I pray and I know our sons will be doing the same exact thing, right? And when they're in our shoes, right? Still continuing on their great relationships. And, ultimately, like I said, very envious of what they have because not a lot of people have that. As time progresses, people drift, and man, a lot of people I don't get to see. I only get to see on Facebook or Instagram, and you know, I'm very thankful that they have that solid core group of friends that will be there in a drop of a hat. So,
But that also says a lot about men as they grow up, boys as they grow up, is that group of friends
yeah,
and their fathers that are there have a really big impact on who they are. So it's kind of like you said earlier, and you made a statement about the village. I think you're 100% right, right?
yeah,
Because like I said, if Josh is gonna go out with you or Steve or Marcelo, I'm like that's fine. That you guys go out, do what you need to do. Like you're gonna go on vacation with them, take you off. You're gonna go to the lake.
yeah,
Like I trust you guys, and
yeah.
I trust the boys. They'll always take care of each other, right? I mean, we've been on vacation together with the boys. They're like they're doing shenanigans, right?
You're good, bro.
Hey, we're good. We're good.
It wouldn't be real if this wasn't
No,
happening
hell no.
right
Like
now, bro.
it's crazy.
It's all
because
good. I'm gonna keep
How
this
does
in
it
the
happen?
video.
You know what I mean? Like we got the gardener here and everything.
It's all good, bro.
He's in the podcast. I love
No
it.
worries.
I love it.
OG just trying to make his money, bro.
Oh, dude. Hey, he's good, dude.
Yeah,
Good, dude. He's
that's
been
good.
doing our lawn for since we've been here, 20 years probably,
Man,
right? Good, dude.
that's good.
But we'll let him roll
Yeah,
the back.
we'll let him roll past and we'll edit this out. Now good.
What we're talking about, like, I think the biggest piece is like we're not there all the time with our kids.
Yeah.
Like Lourdes and I had a lot of conversations where she's like, well, we should go check on Josh, and or we should do this or we should do that with Jeremy, and my piece with them is with her always is like we're not always going to be there. They're going to have to make decisions on their own. We just got to trust that they're going to make the right decisions, right? That we've imparted to them the values, and that they're going to make the right decisions.
It's kind of what it is.
100%, we're not going to be there.
Yeah,
right?
That's what life is.
Agreed. But when they're with their friends,
Yeah,
I have utmost trust.
Yeah.
And so it's really important as you grow up, when we talk about things about raising kids, it's really important that sons are with other men that are like-minded and are structured and can support them, right?
Yep.
Because that's really, really important.
Exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that because they have such a dynamic group, right? Because it's like they all have their turn when they like step up and are like trying to wild out, and then the rest of them kind of reel each other back
Yeah.
in. Like,
Yeah.
and it's funny because it's like the safety net that they have is there whether we're there or not, and to be able to trust them wholeheartedly is something that's amazing.
We can't take all the credit as fathers.
Yeah.
We got to give credit to the boys too,
Yeah,
because they take
exactly.
care of each other, right?
I agree.
They do.
You know, ultimately it stems from us as dads, and you know, like I said, I'm gonna give our flowers where our flowers are due, and a lot of these interviews going past you, I had to start with you. You know, you're at the very top of the list of good dads that I know. And so, with that being said, we're gonna lead into the closing, and the closing is, um, as you progress, or as your sons progress into life, you know, in a blink of an eye, we're all going to be hanging out at either Josh or Jeremy's wedding, and they'll
Don't even
be.
tell. Let me start.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We talk about this all the time, you know, so it's not a topic that hasn't come up.
Agreed.
We've said we'd be there for our boys, you know, to set them up for their bachelor parties. Like, we're those kinds of dads, you know what I mean? We'll get them set up, and then we'll, you know, watch in the wing or take off. And as soon as they're good and they're partying it up, enjoying that part of the celebrating of their lives, you know, starting another chapter, you know, we'll be there. So, what is your advice to each one of your sons when you do reach that time? You know, what is your advice that you're going to leave with them before they start their families?
So one of the things that I struggled with the most, and that Lourdes and I have had a lot of conversations, and we've done okay for ourselves, right? We've always tried to say, hey, what's too much and what's not enough to give to our kids, right? We want them to have that chip on their shoulder,
Yep.
and like we had it when we were growing up, because there's a lot of things we didn't have that we wanted. Again, everything we needed we had, but there's a lot of things we wanted that we didn't have. And so we grew up with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, saying, hey, we're going to be successful, we're going to fight our way through the struggles. And something that we've always fought with or struggled with is, like I said, what's not enough, what's too much. I don't want my kids to be spoiled, but I also want them to have enough experience in life to leapfrog Lourdes and I, right?
Yep.
I want them to go in with financial knowledge, right? Business savvy, all those things that maybe Lourdes and I didn't have, so they can get started at a young age. And so that's something that's really important to me. And there's a saying, and I'm gonna probably screw it up, but there's a saying that says, you know, hard times make hard men make soft men make hard times make hard men. It's a cycle, right?
Yep.
And the one thing that I didn't want to do is I didn't want to create soft times and make a soft man, all right, for Josh and Jeremy. And so the piece that I would impart to my children is, don't let that cycle happen, right? Like, raise your if you have men, raise your men to be courageous, to be loyal, to be respectful, and to be honest, right? Raise them to understand the values of a man. Raise them to stand up for themselves and their loved ones, right? And at the end of the day, be a better father than I was, right? That's the piece that I think is really important. Stick with the values that we have, right? Make sure that you raise good men that understand tough times and can persevere through those. And then at the end of the day, think about what I did and some of the things that I probably um, could have made different decisions on as a father, and really take those lessons and be a better dad than me.
Yeah. You know, my wife, ever since we dropped off Capono, has been trying to figure a way to get back out there to see her son. And I keep saying, bro, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Let him be. Let him be. Let him be. And so I told her, I was like, you're not the only one that misses your son. Like, that's my guy. So, like, but, you know, everything that you just closed with, brother, is exactly the same type, you know, of advice and things that I say to my son. And, you know, the last thing I told him was, you know, never change who you are. Stick to what you've been taught, and you will be fine. you know. And so as I hugged my son goodbye, you know, I was fighting tears, brother, you know, but I knew everything that I've taught, everything that he's been around, as far as the other good men that he's been raised to be around, come from the same cloth. So, you know, with that being said, I agree with you wholeheartedly about everything that you said. Um, yeah. Is there any other comments that you'd like to leave
No, I think
with us that you have?
I think you said something that's really important about being sad, right? When your son's Capono left, you know, I dropped Josh off at the airport today. He's going to be gone for 2 weeks at Fort Bragg because he's in the ROTC, to be in the Army.
Nice.
And I sat there on the side watching him carry his duffel bags and stuff, and just a little sad, dude.
Yep.
And something that you brought up is, you know, my dad, and it's probably your dad's the same, right? They grew up in it's when men were made of steel and ships were made of wood, right?
Yep.
They're very hard men. And so like when my dad and I had our relationships, I don't remember a lot of hugs and kisses and messing around, right? Hard man, hard times. But you made a comment, and I think that's the other piece about being a father is it's okay to love your kid, love your boys, right? And your daughters, right? Hug them, kiss them all the time, mess around with them, have a good time.
Yep.
You still got to raise them to be good men, but that love and being transparent with it is really, really important.
Yep.
Right. And that's okay. Right. You don't have to,
Yeah.
being a hard man, being a hard father or raising hard men doesn't mean you got to be an ass to your kids, right? Or never show them affection.
Exactly.
Right. And I look at all of us. I look at Brandon.
Right.
I look at Steve. I look at you. I look at Marcelo. Like, we're always messing with our boys, right? We're always hugging them, giving them little kisses on their neck, messing around with them, right? Because we want to show that affection because we love our kids, man.
And I think ultimately, as men, that shows progression because, you know,
agreed.
Same thing with my dad. I don't think I ever had that real kind of interaction with him until I had my first kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was I would tell stories of my dad coming home from work, hearing the squeaks on his 1988 single cab Toyota pickup truck in the driveway and running for the hills because I knew he was home. You know what I'm saying? And so in watching our relationship with our kids, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, we pull up, man, dad's home. Like, that feels good. So, you know,
and it's not to say our fathers did anything
wrong, no,
right?
exactly.
That was the time.
It's
That's
never
the
that.
time, dude. That was the way people were growing up, right? And you're right, it is progression. And I think as fathers today, it's really important to understand is we don't have to mimic that. Times have changed, and we're comfortable in ourselves to be able to show that affection to our sons.
I think we've tried our hardest to find that balance in between two, because, you know, I'm like you. There's been times where I had to cuss out my kid and this, that, and the other. But then at the same token, you know, we never got apologies as to why shit was harsh when we were coming up. You know what I'm saying? And then as times changed, right, and we progress as men and get better as fathers and try to, at least, that is one thing, because I'll see it in my Polynesian community. Life was, you do as you're told, you shut your mouth. And then I saw a lot of people kind of see in the relationship that I had with my kids, it was a little bit of that. But then as they got older, I wanted to hear their opinions. I feel like, you know, I think as a Polynesian man, I took a lot of what is, and I'm embodied because I'm American, proud American, the values that they have here, a lot of old school values that need to be brought back. And then a little bit of the culture kind of helped find that balance in between the two. Because as my kids got older, I did give them opinions, and I wanted to hear their, you know what I mean? This, that, and the other. Because we were always told, nah, bro, you don't have a job. We pay for everything. Do what we're telling you to do. And so as our kids got older, you see it. It's like even when we're sitting back here watching the fights, we may not agree with our sons. They have their own opinions about fighters and life. And we're kind of going back and forth and having that, you know, manly arguments or bickering amongst each other. And they're kind of rolling their eyes. And then you notice too, though, you know, as we're going at it, they'll kind of like back up because they know their lane. You know what I'm saying? And I love them to know not to push the envelope over and kind of, all right, Dad, you guys are You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And it's a respect thing,
It's
though, at
true.
the same
It's true.
time. But we
It's
do
true.
allow them to go off
Yeah.
on us and say,
Oh, yeah.
oh, you're wrong, Dad. You don't know what you're talking about. This fighter's better than that fighter.
And those rare times when we're
Right.
right, like we don't say anything. We're not like, "Oh, I told you so." Like,
Yeah.
we just sit back, and the kids are like, "Ah,
Exactly.
Dad knows something." Every once in a while, Dad knows.
Right?
The broken clock is
Exactly.
right twice a day, right?
Right? It took us going through life and going through experiences. We didn't have Google like you guys.
Yeah,
Come on
it's
now.
true. It's true.
All right. Well, I appreciate the interview. I hope these viewers and people watching and other fathers out there kind of get a glimpse of, we know where you're coming from. We know what you're going through. I really pray and hope that our sons, take what we embodied as what a good father is or try to be, and maybe they'll take the good and leave the bad, like I will always tell my kids, and make their own way. And so with that being said, if you don't have anything else, I hope everybody enjoyed our interview, and stay tuned for the next one. Appreciate you, bro. Yes, sir.